This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
We are back. You will notice I am not Alice Stewart. I am Jason Cline, filling in for Alice Stewart. That joke never gets old to me because I don't even look like Alice, you know? I mean, I got facial hair and stuff. Alice is, you know, she's a nice lady. She's a good-looking lady, and I'm just this guy. Facial hair and everything. Russ has got it, too. I'm joined in studio by Krista Anderson. We've been trying to spitball some nicknames for her. So far, we don't have anything.
That's okay.
Catfish was thrown around.
Okay.
But I guess it doesn't work. Russ vetoed it. So anyways, all right. We haven't even really touched on, I think, was the big story over the weekend, which was ISIS's new, they beheaded another American. And I'm actually really, I'm going to give President Obama a commendation here. I'm going to tell him, thank you for finally calling it like it is. In the beginning of all this, he called them folks. He called ISIS folks. They're just, folks who've got an axe to grind or something. Now he called Republicans terrorists.
Yeah.
But he did call ISIS folks, and he did say over the weekend in response to this was an act of pure evil.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Finally.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So I try and give credit where credit is due, and he did. He called it an act of evil today over the weekend. And the interesting thing about this whole situation is that if you follow this young guy who was beheaded, he was an American Army Ranger who actually, I think he moved to Syria. Mm-hmm. It's in northern Syria, which is where this happened. Converted to Islam and went to Syria to go help people, become an aid worker, basically. And it meant nothing to them.
Yeah.
I mean, they brutally killed this guy in cold blood for propaganda purposes.
Yeah.
And it's a disgusting act, and it is an act of pure evil. And, the interesting thing in all of this, and I think one of the reasons people look at a guy like Tom Cotton very seriously is because, 8-9 months ago, 10 months ago, before the real rise of ISIS,
mm-hmm.
Tom Cotton was kind of ringing the bell on this, saying, guys, this is not JV. This is not something to be, undersold. This is a very serious, well-funded threat to American interests. And it's proving more right every day.
Yeah.
And it's really scary. But the good news is that I think that America's responding correctly. You've got airstrikes happening on a regular basis. I know that the president said over the weekend that, he's not ruled out boots on the ground, which I'm the most cautious person who wants to go and put boots on the ground. But I just look around the world, like we send soldiers into like Ebola zones and all of these things. And I think like, when you've got a credible military threat that's beheading American citizens, regardless of their religious affiliation, but you're going to send soldiers into an Ebola area to try and contain a disease?
Yeah.
I mean, ISIS is a disease all the same. So that was a big deal. And like I said, I'm glad to see the president said that it was an act of pure evil. But I just wish that his foreign policy was a little bit stronger handed on dealing with these things.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's a big deal. That was a big deal over the weekend. That broke.
And didn't we actually, was it ever confirmed that we actually wounded their leader in the airstrike? Was that confirmed?
I'm not certain. I for sure can't confirm right now. So it could have been the truth. But, each one of these airstrikes, most people don't recognize. Do you know how much it costs the United States every time we do an airstrike?
A lot, I'm sure.
About $1 million, right? And that's probably not including all the other costs associated. It's about $1 million for an airstrike. And so there's a reason that, we don't just go and drop bombs on everybody.
Right.
Outside of the moral issues there, it is pretty spendy, so it's a big deal. The whole situation with ISIS is really bad because every time that we attack them, it allows them to recruit. And, you have to be careful about how your bombings work because if you're too aggressive or too heavy-handed, you may actually provide the recruiting necessary for them to continue to grow. So you've probably either got to get at the heart, and I actually read one of the best pieces I've ever read on how to deal with ISIS. Because Clinton was at the Clinton Center over the weekend, and Jordan Bonnke, who's a Channel 7 reporter who was kind of covering the 10th, the Clinton 10th Center, said all the Republicans who are criticizing the president about ISIS have no idea what to do about it. And I'll tell you that, people criticize George Bush a lot for his reasoning in the Middle East, and his sort of counterterrorism and all those things. But here's the deal. At the end of the day, the economics matter, right? And they're able to recruit. And if you look at where they recruit most heavily, it's in poor, impoverished areas with no access to capital, poor, high deaths among disease and hunger and all these things. That's where they're able to recruit.
Yeah.
If we were to, and this is why George Bush wanted to spread freedom and democracy, because we know free enterprise and democracy, those things are bedrocks of growing and healthy economies. That's his whole thing, was not just go in and bomb and then leave in shambles, but let's help foster a society of growth and opportunity, something that protects women's rights, which is a really big deal in the Middle East. Because if you don't provide a better opportunity, it's not about just giving them things, it's about providing opportunity, then we're only going to see an ongoing problem in the Middle East. Because that's that's the issue, is that there's a lack of hope in the Middle East that things will get better, or that there's a way to make things better. And so, it's easy for them to blame America, the rich and powerful country.
Yeah.
And so that's a big deal. And so that's, I would say, the bedrock of dealing with ISIS is founded in economic growth, free enterprise. I mean, if you take a look at, China, the United Nations every decade or so gives an update on the global position of poverty. Do you know how many people from 1990 to 2010, you know how many people were lifted out of poverty globally? 1 billion people. And in the reasonings for why, there was like 5 main reasons, but I'll tell you that 2 of the things that stuck out to me most, number 1 was free trade, and number 2 was the American free enterprise system, and this basically the spread of free enterprise.
Yeah.
Individuals pursuing their own separate interests in order to better themselves, which also benefits society. 1 billion people lifted out of poverty. So we know that free enterprise works, because you can't just donate your money to the poor. You've got to find a system that works while you sleep. And that's what free enterprise does. Provides jobs, provides value, efficiency, goods and services in a distribution, all without, some governmental, central planning agency. And so that's what I would say, is that for anybody who wants to know, is there something to be done in the Middle East other than just military force and battering rams? There is. But it's not, there's no overnight fix. You don't just build them a bridge and then say, okay, start moving goods across this.
Right.
And so it's a really big deal.
This segment of the Alice Stewart Show brought to you by Arrow Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Arrow Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER, or you can schedule an appointment online at arrowplumbing.net.